turn up.
We gonna handle this shit like businessmen. Sell the shit, make the profit.
I honestly think you ought to sit down calmly, take a stress pill, and think things over.
When you get to hell, tell him Duke sent you.
What is up, fam? So, went to bed thinking, hey, maybe there is something to this whole fuel thing. But that was under the assumption that it was fuel cost. There's just a whole big misunderstanding, I guess. But wake up this morning and I see quite a few uploads from different people, talking about the fuel thing. Come to find out, it really is zero fuel. I'm sorry, they use fuel. The way they use the engines, I went over last night. I mean, I have no problem doing it again, especially because it's worse than I thought. Let me explain something. If they don't use fuel, and I've seen at least 3 different versions of this. One is you don't use fuel, just air compression, which essentially making them, or the other one was gliders. Then I've heard the new one I've heard was last night was water powered, and Awakened Souls did an upload, and somehow claimed to have shown this proof. I'm gonna show his video. I'm gonna make everyone understand how this idea is not thought out. So let's say what's up. What up, Cynic? Entertain you? We'll see. Peanut says 747s can carry up to 570,000 gallons. Calculate the weight of that. We're talking over 10 tons. There's no way. we're going to go over that because I believe the numbers you guys use also may be a tad off, but at the same time, there is a way. They fly how they need to fly, and I'm going to explain that. So, see real quick. Sent a couple invites out already. I wanted to come on real quick. So here, what I'll do. I'm going to start going over this because the idea that these things don't use fuel is based on what you believe the wings can do is an issue I have. Cynic says I heard they had hamsters on wheels to make them planes go. That's a new one. John, we're getting these numbers right from the manuals. Of course, they use to teach that they are aligned. No, you actually know because it depends. It would actually depend on what you're looking at. Now, like it was like a 747 that fuels jets and all that stuff because they have auxiliary tanks. But we're gonna go into that. That's the thing. Wanted to see if I can get some panels. Let me go ahead and I'll put the link out there. Couple invites real quick. We're gonna get into this because it's can't. I love y'all, but the thought of what you're saying it's just not completely thought out. What I believe. And you know me, come on the panel. You're more than welcome to show that I'm completely wrong. I mean, I would love that. If I found out that they didn't use it, I'd be pretty pissed off too. Maybe I haven't seen what you've seen, but everything I'm looking at makes sense. So for me, I can't. Kind of hard for me to say no go. But let me get this link out in the chat real quick. Anyone's more welcome. Come on. Like I was saying though, there's little different things that I don't think people are still understanding. You asked where they hold these tanks. Showing, so I found enough photo evidence that I believe explains it pretty well. Now, if you know they're everything they're saying is lying, and all the diagrams I found are lies, then I guess I would be wrong. But I believe from what I've researched that this is how it works, and it makes sense as how I felt it worked before I researched it. So it just kind of just made me realize that the way I was thinking about it was on the right path. So one of the big things is the wings hold all the fuel. Wrong. Wings hold fuel, not as much as you think though. I wanted to show. So check this out. You're looking at a diagram of a 707. So it's not as big as a 747, but it's a 707. This is the basic fuel tank layout. Now, in the center of the plane, it holds the most fuel. The numbers I got for this plane, for the Boeing 707, like I said, it's not the biggest one, but it is a jetliner. It is considered a big plane. It is one that holds a high quantity of fuel. That center tank you're looking at holds 46,337 liters. Now, I think you guys hear that number and you start, it racks up. Realistically, that's 12,000 gallons. So we're gonna add this up, 12,000 gallons. Now, the tanks aren't one huge tank inside in the wing. They're actually broken up into sections. These sections carry different amounts of fuel for various reasons. The stream I did last night, and I was talking about this. I was trying to remember the sections they use, but these sections and the amount of fuel they use is they're broken up for different situations. Hey, what's up, Gary? Hey, let me get you a wrench, man, because you're more than welcome here, and I don't want you to end up getting booted because I know you got different views. Gary says, any machine that runs without fuel source would either violate the first or second law of yeah, we're gonna go into that too because Awakened Souls, like I said earlier, made a video about this, and he wanted to use the laws of thermodynamics against it. And I realized what he was doing was he was literally reading like a paragraph off Wikipedia, like 3 paragraphs down. He wasn't even reading the original definition of it or an explanation of it. But let me get into this a little bit more. So, actually, Gary, if you want to jump on, I just put the link out there, but I'll send you the link again in the back chat, maybe. Yeah, it's there's so many reasons why this is I call it a hoax. It needs to go only because it's just cluttering up the truth, in my opinion. And I apologize, guys. I'm trying to find Gary's name on here, so it takes me a long time. It's his fault. Oh, there you go. Should be. There you go. Okay, that's much easier. Yeah, if you want to jump on, Gary, no problem. I sent you the back chat. But like I was saying, if I can find a better one. All right, here we go. Perfect. So this is, like I said, the fuel tank for the Boeing 747. These are the numbers I got off of it for it. As you can see, each one of these areas where it says, so central tank, that was the first one I read, that was 12,000 gallons. These two, the next two, so main tank number 3 and main tank number 2 hold the same amount. They're just on the inside of the wing as you get on the wing. Those hold 18,498 liters. So, but in gallons, that's 4,886 gallons. Write that one down. Add them all up and see the total fuel. Because you're thinking that they're holding a lot more fuel than you think. So, a 747 carries more fuel than this one, but not twice as much. So I believe that like the number you gave me earlier for the 747 peanuts, I think that's more probably either liters or kilograms or something different. Then it says, where did this idea? I honestly have no idea, but second I heard it started to frustrate me. What's up, Origin? You hear planes float? Some do. Some actually do float. Let's finish up on this. So we're now at main tank number 4, one in the middle of the wing, and main tank number 1. They both hold the same. So both are 10,560. That's 2,773 gallons. And don't think that I forgot that. Besides for the center tank, you have everything else doubles. I did take that into account. I will take that into account. The outside tank, which is called the reserve tank, is 1,196 liters. They're both on both wings, and those hold 315 gallons. Right? Let's go do some numbers now. So remember, 12,000 gallons in the center isn't doubled. Only the rest of the tanks are doubled, right? Okay. Real quick. And no, I'm not using that calculator. I'm going to do it on a piece of paper because I prefer to do that. Okay, so the first tank I got was for the two tanks on the wings, number 3 and number 2, a total of 9,872 gallons. So that's on the inside. And we'll do the next one. So the next one was the number 4 tank and the number 1 tank, which was 2,773. You gotta times it, double it. So I'm gonna continue to go over these numbers. I want everyone to really understand. Yes, cynics, it's very caveman. The reason I'm doing it this way is so that everyone can understand they can do it themselves, and it's not their calculator's fault. Okay, so the next one is the reserve tanks on the very ends of the wings. 350. That one's a pretty simple one. 30. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add up the 6 tanks on the wings only. I haven't added the 12,000 gallons of fuel that's in the center tank. Okay, so I got 16,068. Now we're going to add the 12,000 gallons that the center tank holds. Okay, so I want you guys to understand this 707 carries 28,068 gallons. That's a far cry from the 570,000 gallons that you were saying the 747 carries. And I promise you, the 747 is not that much bigger than a 707. It doesn't hold almost, 20 times as much as a 707. That's why I believe that the numbers for that 747 are not right. I just don't believe it. Those numbers are wrong. So therefore, that can't be evidence for planes not using fuel. And I just did the simple numbers. This is the simple part of what I'm saying. That alone is the problem. Numbers that everyone's saying planes hold is so astronomical. When I hear it, it's ridiculous. You guys are looking at someone like half the one of in the video that I'm going to show in a little bit. Awakened Soul says that he shows a tanker truck that holds fuel. He says it takes 10 of them. I was looking at 100,000 gallon tank. You know, the long tanker trucks, really big ones, not the ones you see at a gas station. They're bigger ones, and you'll see it's the same size. And he said 10 of them. That's 1,000,000 gallons. That's twice what Peanut said. Now, this is one of the things that I hear that tip me off to a problem with this hoax. So we'll go to the next one. Wanted to know where the fuel tanks are? This is not a 747 or a 707 wing. This is a small plane's wing. But it was the first picture I found that showed exactly how a tank sits in a wing. Now imagine this on a much bigger scale in a jetliner. Now I'm looking at something that makes complete sense. Now, yeah, the wings, the skeleton of the plane is structurally very strong. How strong? I can show you how strong. In fact, I can show you the FAA rulebook that shows exactly how it should be structured. Now, if you've ever done like model planes or RC planes, go out to your local little dirt patches. I'm pretty sure you could find anybody that builds their own planes and flies them, and ask to look at the wings. Matter of fact, just remember, even those need. But the fuel tank is right there, sitting inside the wing. If you want to make it to a much bigger scale, then there you go. Exactly, Cynics. So the 747 holds 36,000 gallons. That makes, so when I see that number, that makes perfect sense to me because that's 36,000 gallons. The 707, which is a smaller plane, holds 28,000 gallons. That's a whole different thing. 1159, he said the 747 plane can carry up to 570,000 gallons. Calculate the weight of that. We're talking over 10 tons. There's no way. Now, I want to make it clear. I'm not calling anybody out. Oh, I'm calling awakened souls out. But I've done that before, so they understand that I'm not here to make fight about it. But the reality of it is, can't put videos out there, uploads up there for people to see, because they'll run with that shit even though it doesn't make sense. It's like they're I don't want to say snake oil salesmen because they do have a lot of good information. I have actually heard them since the whole leader crap they were doing before. They actually stopped doing that. But if you come with 90% truth and you're able to back that 90% up, and something comes along and it's not real, it's not true, you should still get called on it. Because the problem is not everybody, not even all my information is going to be solid. Not all my information is going to be the 100% truth because I don't know everything. But the reality is, if I know something isn't being truthfully put out there, I should say something. And if anybody's getting mad because I'm doing this, then you're literally just not wanting to see the truth. What's up, Ted? How you doing, sir? We're just going over this fuel thing, and like I said, I think what the biggest problem is that a lot of people don't know or haven't done the research yet, or not willing to, and willing to just listen to what people tell them. But everything I looked into about this situation in the past week or two, nothing at all says it's even logical to think that they don't use fuel. Exactly, Ted. Last night I did a stream and I went over that. Because it got to the point where it was like, you got to go basic. You have to let people understand what this is about. So just understand that people are saying that they're not using fuel, and for that to be doesn't make sense. A turbine engine uses jet fuel. It's just the way it is. You know what I mean? So when you look at it, all these moving parts have to get moving somehow. The video I'm going to show, the guy tries to say that it's all compressed air and that's how they start them and the whole nine. But that's not true. Now, here's the kicker to it all. Sean, that picture you were just showing equals over. See, I don't understand. Okay, yeah, probably. Now, the picture I was showing, if you're talking about this one, no, this one is a small plane. I don't know how big this tank is, how much it holds, but this looks like one of the small planes you would see flying in your local little airports, not a jetliner, nothing like that. Now, You look at this diagram. Yeah, I 100% believe it is. Because I'm going to show you guys one before that. This one. I haven't showed that one. This one. Okay. Yeah, I 100% believe it can. How you doing, P900? How you doing? Yeah, it's 100% believable to me. As far as I'm concerned, um, I don't understand how it's not believable. Um, but like I was saying, I played. I don't have the video anymore. I took it off the OBS system. But the way an engine works is 100% based on the fact that it can it can compress air and push air through the system. The problem is to make this an effective system, you do have to use fire, heat, something an intense fire source to heat up the air to make it expansive, basically. So I mean, the idea, like I was saying that last night, the idea that a airliner's engine only uses compressed air, it doesn't need fuel, is only half of the truth. Yes, the engine is made to compress air and do its thing and thrust and move a plane. But the problem is not understanding is all those mechanisms inside that need to be that are increasing when accelerating, decreasing when decelerating. All those things need fuel to happen. So you want to go faster in a plane, you increase the fuel to the combustion chamber, which increases the heat, increases the airflow, and it's just the way it works. You need fuel to power these engines. Remember, these engines. This is it right here. You're looking at what it takes. All those things need fire, fuel, combustion. That's just like your cars. And we'll get into that because I understand that there are, the steam-powered vehicles, um, and I almost got off this hoax last night when I was told about a thing called Solar Empress. Okay, so they do have um, planes that don't fly on fuel. Matter of fact, the world record is held by a plane that doesn't run off any fuel at all. It runs off solar power. But I want to show you guys something because this is kind of one of the things I heard also. The problem with that, is, and I want to show you this plane. I'm going to play the video for it. The technology is impressive. I am amazingly impressed. The problem is that it's far fetched. It's not how it works. It's not going to happen. It's not. There's no way we're flying on a plane that's run off solar power or no fuel at all, because essentially that's what you're saying. Find out where that. Oh, here we go. So what this plane can do is impressive. It does fly, zero fuel. Here's the kicker to it. It's slow. Can't have it doesn't have a very good payload. The way it's built is built to do what it's doing. Not I can't find the video, but here you can see. You'll see the plane right here. It's a huge plane. That wingspan, I think the wingspan was like 200 or 100, 200 feet or something like that. We'll just go to the. I gotta find the video. But basically, this thing is huge, slow, and it's not a commuter plane. It's not something that's taking anybody anywhere. Like I said, it's the wingspan is insane. Okay, here we go. Let's check this out. Like I said, it's impressive. The problem is that it's not something that's taking anything anywhere. It's slow. It's its payload has got to be small. The wings are so huge because it needs all those solar panels. That's smaller than a 747. A 747 would need 5 times as many solar panels and a lot more luck. You know what I mean? It's not possible. It's not realistic. Let me see what you guys are saying in the chat. Compress sides and fans. Okay, you're explaining it. This means 20% plus 40 gallons of oil. It looks like that. Where where are the people that believe this idea? You need them on funny to hear the side. I know someone, Chandra, you can put a match out. See, here's the thing. Cynics. Well, Peanuts, I think, is on board with that. I know he's a good researcher. He's been around longer than I have. I'm hoping that he'll go out and research what I've shown. The problem is I believe that what I'm saying is so factual that these people that want to run with it aren't willing to jump on the panel or to say, hey, this is why I think you're wrong, Sean. I mean, like I said, if I'm wrong, please explain to me how I'm wrong. But as far as I'm concerned, I don't feel that I'm wrong. Like I said, I wanted to show you this. This is the FAA structure. Says what it needs to be, a plane, how it needs to be built. In a sense, it's the, I guess you would call the structural holy grail of airplanes. Now, yeah, if you go out and watch the videos of these planes that you're seeing right now fly, those wings are weak and they're made of paper, basically. Yes, it is actually paper. But you got to remember, as the planes progressed in technology, so did the material. If I can find it, I was looking at one. Okay, so understand that because there's a new one out where they're gliders. If they were gliders, like I said, they would be a lot slower because they can't gain speed, and also they're also at the mercy of the wind. So how they would get to all these locations perfectly, I would have no clue. There's a picture in here that showed how strong how it worked. The wings worked strong. Basically, it's the design and how they rivet, basically. So believe it or not, here it goes. So I mean, the way they build these wings, like all these little designs you're seeing, are structural designs of a wing. I don't understand. Like, they're a lot stronger than you think, and they're not made of aluminum like aluminum can. You're not gonna walk up and be able to Incredible Hulk a piece of like a piece of like a tin can. It's not gonna happen. People want to defend their ideas. No way. Looks like, let's look at a 200,000 liter truck. Okay. 200,000 liter truck, no problem. 200,000 liter truck. Oh shit, my bad. I forgot to turn on the image. Use that one. Right? Pretty sure I use it. Not exactly what I was looking for, but tanker. There we go, much better. So I'm not well, let's do this first of all, because we are in America. I want to show you something, because what we're looking at aren't very big trucks, and I can tell you half of those weren't even 10,000 gallon trucks. So 200,000 liters is 57 or 52,837 gallons. Here's the thing: what are you looking at when you see 200,000 liters? What I don't understand is when I put in, what was it? So we figured out that a 707 holds 2868. That's 100,000 liters. 747, what was it? That was 36,000. That's still 136. And remember, and I'm going to go over this is the part that I really wanted to go over. What these planes use. They're not using okay, here we go. Here you go. So, like I was saying, so let me just throw out these numbers real quick. Um, where is it? Chat. Okay, there it is. Okay, so whenever I told you that, so we already figured out that for a 707, because we have all the numbers, that's the only reason I'm mainly going to use that one. It holds 28,000 gallons of fuel. They don't use 28,000 gallons of fuel in that plane when they're using it. That doesn't make sense. Here, so this is the best way to explain it. The more fuel you have in your plane, basically the heavier you are, means the more power you're going to have to use, which means the more fuel you end up using. Okay? So what they do is they literally put only as much as the FAA requires. What is that number? Okay. So there's the center tank. This is how they've broken it down, and I have it actually written down. This is how they have it broken down into their regulations. What's up, Upper? How are you doing? So the center tank is the main tank. That's the tank that they draw most of the fuel from. The two outside tanks, which they consider tank A, tank B, is required to hold 5% plus just in case fuel, which is 5 minutes of fuel. Then there are the next tanks on the outside of that, which are considered C and D, which is required to have enough reserve fuel for 30 minutes plus taxiing fuel. The reserve tanks on the ends are required to be full, and that is for delay, relocation, and taxiing. So they have to have enough fuel for each scenario that happens. It's not they just fill up all the tanks and go, see ya 3 trips from now. So I would say they hold, or better yet, let me explain. The information I got from this was most of the information was from a Delta Airlines. Basically, how they charge for tickets is based on a what they call a passenger percentage fuel rate. So there's a secret number they have basically for every. So if they fill half the plane, the the more fuel they'll need. The more people, the more fuel. So they have to gauge how much this is happening. So if they have only a few people in the plane, they're not going to need as much fuel. The prices go down, way down. That's why you're able to go find all those super cheap tickets because they need to fill those flights. There's a certain number of passengers that ratio all that to make money. That's where all this money and tickets and all that stuff's coming from. But there is a certain amount of fuel that they're required to hold, and it's not called a fuel tank. And like I said, if you have things that prove me wrong, please come on and let me know. I have no problem being wrong. Only problem I have is all these people subscribing to stuff that they're not quite understanding. That's the only issue I have. And just a small topic, they burn 10 to 11 tons per hour or a gallon a second. After a certain amount of time, that's not that much, not really carrying that much. Yeah, they're definitely not carrying. So if they burn 10 to 11 tons per hour, they're 10 to 11 tons less. This is for a 747, not a 707, 747. If they burn 10 to 11 tons per hour, every hour they're 10 to 11 tons lighter. Diagram you showed was showing at the beginning added up to 106 liters. I added it wrong at first. Yeah, the 747 I think was. Yeah, the 747 is holds can can at full capacity can carry that much. But like when I was looking at to figure that out, because the first thing I thought too was, yeah, that's a lot of weight on these wings. Um, if they did fill up all their tanks, the plane would be slow. It would drag. It would probably, it'd take a lot longer. But there is a fine percentage that they actually only fill up. They fill up the middle, and then they work their way out to balance out the plane. But that's also why there's also the same amount of fuel on each side, so that it can balance and for the plane out. You know how all that works. Um, I'm not saying that everyone is like it's ridiculous to the point where these people shouldn't be reaching. Good. I'm so happy people are looking into everything. The problem is when you start looking into everything, understand that we've all had a conspiracy theory that we were looking into and got so deep into it and went, fuck, that didn't happen. You know what I mean? So it does happen. I'm not holding it against anybody. And people having questions is the reason we're here anyway. So, as far as I feel, more of a hey, this is the right information that isn't being seen by other people. And hopefully they see it and they understand how it does work. So, what I want to do now, and here's, I feel like everyone gets their fair. So, like I said, Awakened Souls did an upload about this, and I want to show his 100% peanuts. Like I said, I don't know 100 billion percent. I can't just say this is how it works. Period. But when I look into the research, and the evidence and the facts, I'm fact based. Everything I need things behind it. It leads to they they use fuel, and I that's just all I can say. I mean, you wouldn't imagine a piece of heavy equipment can hold 175 gallons of diesel fuel and burn it in 8 hours. But if you don't know anything about the machines, you're gonna find it real quick. It'll take me like 2 minutes. I know where it's at. I just got to figure out how to get it loaded up on the OBS. Was it? Yeah, it should take me about 2.5 minutes. If Mick Weiss is here, it'll be 3. I'll be right back.
Our eyes and experience tell us the Earth is flat and motionless, and everything in the sky revolves around us. By turning Earth into a spinning ball thrown around the sun and shot through infinite space from a godless Big Bang, they turn humanity into a random, meaningless, purposeless accident of a blind, dumb universe. This modern atheist Big Bang heliocentric globe Earth chance evolution paradigm spiritually controls humanity by removing God or any sort of intelligent design.
That person there is being spun round at about 1,000 miles an hour, and it doesn't know it. I mean, this is obvious nonsense. Know it? I mean, this is obvious nonsense. And it doesn't know it. I mean, this is obvious nonsense. I mean, this is obvious nonsense. I mean, this is obvious nonsense.
But if the Earth is just one of billions of planets revolving around billions of stars and billions of galaxies, then the ideas of God creation and a specific purpose for Earth and human existence become highly implausible.
I mean, this is obvious nonsense.
Their rich, powerful corporations with their slick sun-cult logos sell us idols to worship, slowly taking over the world while we tacitly believe their science, vote for their politicians, buy their products, listen to their music, watch their movies, all sacrificing our souls at the altar of materialism.
I mean, this is obvious nonsense. I mean, this is obvious nonsense. I mean, this is obvious nonsense.
Duke wins. Fatality.
What is up, legendary dude? All right, now just kind of talking about this whole fuel hoax. I sent you a link in the back chat if you want to jump on the panel. Okay, so see if I can get this one. Oh, perfect. Okay, so we're gonna go over this. Don't need to be that big. Like I said, from Awakened Souls, and like I said, much respect to him. He does come with a lot of good information when it comes to, proving it's not a globe. But this is just one that I couldn't ride with. And I'm gonna go ahead and stop it through, just kind of pick through it.
Yeah, so this is
What's up,
just
ATF?
a 3D model of the Airbus A380. This is the one that we've been talking about, and I mean the detail in this thing is unbelievable. So it's to scale. So I can grab this tape measure, come in here on a door, and say, all right, this door is.
Actually, it's not the video I was looking for. Go through here and see if we can find it real quick. Oh, here it is.
Public notice of nonprofit educational fair use in compliance with Title 17, Section 107 of the United States Copyright Code. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, video media, or video discs under certain circumstances, without authorization of the copyright holder. This infringement of copyright is called fair use and is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
If you check my popular uploads on my channel, Awake Souls, you'll see my video that I did, Air Travel Will Bring the End of the Petroleum Hoax, the second lie of thermodynamics busted, is getting a lot of attention right now. So much so that the shills and trolls are coming out and it's time for an update. This topic has gotten so much attention that the Glowbusters had to come out with, get your tinfoil hats on, kids, we're going down the rabbit hole. Now those serious truth seekers out there already know that down the rabbit hole is like a CIA, MK Ultra programming lingo that refers to cartel operations that set up disinformation.
Oh, what up, legendary? How you doing, sir? What up, sir? How you doing?
What's going on, man?
Just chilling, going over this video. Are you on? Can you see the YouTube one too?
Nah, I'm on my phone,
Let
so
me
I
see.
can't watch the YouTube.
Hang on one second. I'm gonna see if I can share it real quick so you can see it. Yeah, there we go. All right, you should be able to see it now. Can you see the video?
Here's your icon.
Hang on. Oh, I know why. I gotta present. Duh. There we go. Now you should be able to see.
Nah, just an icon, yeah.
It's not doing it right. Okay, because it should be presenting my screen right now. It's not. Just hang on one sec. All right, that's how I did it. You should be able to see like my OBS and stuff now.
Yeah, I see it now. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, here we go.
To spin truth seekers off left and right from the true path. I mean, hopefully all of you real truth seekers out there already know that David Weiss of Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole was one of those eyewitness testimonies used in 9/11. Just like a Hogwarts character in the Florida shooting. It's important to note from the Globebusters Hangout that the entire time they were covering the topic of free energy over unity and the airplane hoax that Team Yahushua has exposed, they were playing footage of other channels, other COINTEL channels.
1 second. I keep getting the wrong one. I don't really care about what they think they did. It's this one. Like I said, I didn't have it, so I had to find it.
Public notice of nonprofit educational fair use in compliance with Title 17, Section
Here it is.
107 of the
Hello everyone, Dave here from Enslaved by No Media. So you think compressed air doesn't have a place in the world right now? These planes are not running on compressed air, you say?
The first law of thermodynamics. It states that the change of the internal energy of a closed system is equal to the amount of heat supplied to the system minus the amount of work done by the system on its surroundings.
All right, so this is the one thing what I was talking about earlier. He's trying to use the laws of thermodynamics to disprove it, when in actuality he's just picked a sentence that sounds good to what he's saying. Because what he's not reading to you is the law of conservation of energy states. Energy states that the total energy of an isolated system is consistent, which basically means that when you turn the engine on and you run it at a set RPM, you're going to get the same force out of it. You add more, you get more. You add less, you get less.
An equivalent statement is that perpetual motion machines of the first kind are impossible.
Now, that statement that he's trying to elaborate on ruins what he's saying, because then he's saying cars are fake. He's saying that RC vehicles are fake, you know, the ones that use little fuel and all that stuff. He's saying anything that uses fuel is fake.
Second law of thermodynamics. Its first formulation is credited to the French scientist Carnot, who in 1824 showed that there is an upper limit to the efficiency
I don't
of
get that.
conversion of heat to work in a heat engine.
Okay. Yeah, so, well, see, that's the problem. For someone who doesn't understand what the thermal laws are, you know, haven't really researched or anything, and then someone reads, you know, it's just something about it, you don't know what is the, you know, the definition or just something that's in it. What he just read isn't the definition of the second law of thermodynamics at all. What he should have been reading is the second law of thermodynamics states that the total entropy can never decrease over time for an isolated system. That is, a system in which is neither energy nor matter can enter nor leave. Basically, he's saying that, well, first of all, it's not a closed system. Air comes in, air goes out. It's not a closed system. So the second law of thermodynamics, nothing to do with it. Make sure I get the chat up here so you guys will see it.
Corollaries. Perpetual motion of the second kind. Before the establishment of the second law, many people who were interested in inventing a perpetual motion machine had tried to circumvent the restrictions of first law of thermodynamics by extracting the massive internal energy of the environment as the power of the machine. Such a machine is called a perpetual motion machine of the second kind. The second law declared the impossibility of such machines.
And he is correct. Besides for nuclear, which we won't go into, when you drive your car, it runs out of gas. Thus meaning doesn't have perpetual energy. Perpetual energy is something that is nonstop all the time. He's stating that it is impossible. Well, I just showed you guys a company called Solar Pulse that flew around the world nonstop, or I don't know if it was nonstop, but it's a solar powered plane, zero fuel. That is a perpetual energy plane. Fly high enough, there's no interference, therefore it can constantly go nonstop. The only reason they had to stop is because they can't fly that long.
I was looking into that the other day about the perpetual energy. I think somebody had created something with some magnets, and the magnets spun. You know, the negative, positive, negative of the magnets.
Yeah.
So if they were placed, they were placed in the right position, and they would keep spinning perpetual motion. They would never stop, and they created free energy, unlimited amount of energy.
Yes, but that's what I'm saying. Science changes, but when you're trying to spread a certain agenda, as they are, this guy Wake and Soul is, he's gonna spin his information to sound right. Now, everyone could say that all the information I'm getting is fake, but it's from different sources, whether they believe it or not, the idea or not. Like I was saying, let me get back to that.
Fuel. I am in the process of making an electrical generator that runs off of water, converted to HHO. During my research, I have discovered that perpetual motion machines are not impossible. And thanks to David of Enslaved by Media, we now have confirmation of this.
Bro, I can't wait till it warm up. I'm tired of this cold ass weather, man.
Yeah, for real, man. It's like 68 degrees in San Diego. I'm pissed. Needs to warm up.
It's about 60. It's about 60, like high 50s here. Cold. It's too cold for me, bro. I'm going to Florida.
Oh yeah, that's a different place right there. That's completely different. Yeah. When this guy's showing this part of the video, this is the part I wanted to show. So right here, he says something that is a bald-faced lie. He says an average water tanker truck delivering delivery is 9,000 gallons. An 18-wheeler packed full of water is the exact same as an oil tank truck. They're different. Everything's different about it. The weight. Oil, I'm not sure if he was trying to say it or not, but oil and water don't weigh the same. Exactly, Peanut. Extremely cold, which is why they need the fuel to heat the air for the thrust. Not to mention, he doesn't show the size comparison of this Airbus compared to a 747. This thing dwarfs a 747. And for something that should be ripped apart, that looked like a pretty strong plane when it landed. And right there, this is where I got irritated. What if planes run off compressed air? They run off of compressed air. The whole system of a turbine system is compressed air. I showed the video last night. I really don't want to show it again. So you guys can go on last night and see that I showed exactly how a turbine engine works. And yes, it is compressed air. Problem is, it's not just compressed air. Compressed and accelerated hot and into hot air, which gives the thrust. You need fuel for that. You can't understand this. If they turn, let's say they had a way, and this guy tries to show it, but it doesn't work. Shows you a way to start them up without any fuel. The cold air that runs through them isn't going to give any lift. It's not going to give any thrust. Just the same way a jet uses afterburners is the same thing as a turbine engine. It's the same thing.
Mr. Sean, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing, Gary?
Oh, good.
Now you've seen this thing many times.
Yeah, so we're kind of going over a video that I saw of a guy that's trying to say that jetliners, in particular the new Airbus, doesn't use fuel at all. I'm actually happy you're on, because sometimes you do need, another view that agrees with certain things, because they can add to it. And I wanted to say the biggest issue with this hoax is that I honestly believe the people doing the research into it either are purposely leaving half the information out or not doing enough. Have you heard about this new hoax, Gary?
What's the hoax?
That jetliners do not use jet fuel. They use either.
What are they being?
I've heard compressed air. The one we're watching now, he believes it's compressed air, or water. Compressed water. A new one was like solar, like a solar plane. And I'm sure there are ways.
All they're doing is the only thing they're saying is that the planes, instead of using jet fuel, they run off a different fuel, either water, compressed air, or
yes,
or solar.
Yes.
They haven't replaced all they're doing is replacing the fuel with a different fuel. That doesn't mean they don't run on fuel.
Yeah, exactly. But here's the thing: the ways they're saying these things are running would make them impossible. Because as you know, the fuel is what gives the super combustion. The heat, the whole nine. The way it actually works is based on fuel burning.
Well, if you're using jet fuel, if you were using like solar, it would probably use some kind of electric motor.
Well, yeah, but
spins it.
But the correlation between them is that a solar plane can't carry 230, 300 people, and it sure as hell ain't gonna be able to power a plane of the Airbus size. If you're, the jet fuel is the reason they're capable of having such a heavy payload.
The size, the weight, and the size of the plane, and the power on the plane in order to collect enough solar for the plane.
You're breaking up.
Well, usually the problem with a solar plane is planes are made lightweight. That's why they have the aluminum shell so that they're light.
Mm-hmm.
Battery somewhere on there that stores by the solar panels, and solar panels don't actually put out that much energy to.
No, they don't at all.
Of that size.
Yeah, what a lot of people don't know, because when you're talking like the grid, when people are talking about getting off the grid, what they don't realize is a lot of that has to do with the batteries that you actually would get.
Right. Even if you had them, and they're still going to be very heavy, and then that's even more weight for the plane.
Yeah. All right. Hey, what's up, Peanuts? And sorry, Gary. What's up, Peanuts? How you doing, sir?
Power the plane.
Yeah, there are ways of doing stuff like no one's saying that they don't use solar for fly, or you couldn't use some kind of water compression system. The issue is the capabilities of these things don't add up.
Yeah, that, I mean, it's the reason we use jet fuel and gasoline is because it's more bang for your buck. You get more. Well, you don't get more energy, but the energy that you get from it.
You can create a higher explosion, and basically is what it is.
Right.
You wanted to add to it, Peanuts? How you doing, man? I know you're coming from a different side of it.
I wanted to ask him something. Gary, what do you think in 1910, do you think electric cars were being produced? Do you think that's
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they were.
They were. Well, so,
yeah, they were incredibly inefficient, but yeah, they were being created. The thing that really keeps bringing electric cars back is our understanding of batteries.
So can you kind of elaborate on why in 1910 electric cars got pushed to the side, and then oil became our primary use of transportation?
Yeah, electric cars, like the electric cars we have now, can go pretty far, but before then they were only going 10, 15 miles, probably back in 1910, and then it would take so long to recharge them, so this you can crank to get a charge on it, and then you can drive it another 10 or 15 miles, and quite frankly, you can put an entire tank of gas in there and go back then, I think average gas mileage was probably about 7 to 8 miles a gallon, and it's just way better to use gasoline than to have a cranking system that only gets you.
So you don't think it had any controlling the masses?
Is like I said, the thing that really held as batteries keep getting better, we keep getting more densely packed batteries that are more compact and smaller, and that store more energy and are a little bit more efficient. You will see electric cars continue to gain because the batteries are improving. I mean, they had electric cars back in the 80s, but once again, you can only go 25, 30 miles, and then it took 12 hours to recharge them. Nobody wants to spend that kind of money for that kind of car. It's just inefficient. Right. Gasoline is way cheaper and more efficient. The internal combustion engine, it was just a more easier and efficient way to actually get around than recharging a battery that took a long time to recharge and didn't get you very far.
Well,
I mean, batteries today, they still take fairly a long time to charge, but they get you a little further. I think Tesla, they have one that you can charge up in 6 to 7 hours and you can get 300 miles out of it. But that's only if you're using like a high capacity charger.
Well, at least you can agree that in 1910, electric cars were being produced. They just didn't make a big splash in the market.
Oh no, I think Jay Leno has one of those cars in his garage. He actually shows it off. It was like one of the first premier electric vehicles. But once again, it doesn't go very far. I think it goes like 12 miles or 15 miles or something like that. I mean, you should have seen the steam cars they used to have back then that ran off of steam. They used to have something that ran off kerosene.
Well, that's cool, Gary. You made a comment and it made me think of that. But back to Sean's topic for his stream here, and I think it's cool that Sean is really looking into this, and I think it's cool that Sean is not just regurgitating what other YouTube content creators are saying. Sean is actually looking into it.
Well, I did see his thing on the video he played, and where the guy said he thought that there were perpetual motion machines were possible. They are not possible. If the laws of thermodynamics are true, there's no way they're possible.
But wouldn't you consider a solar plane? Wouldn't that be considered one?
Well, no. Well, why would a solar plane be one?
Well,
it's getting its fuel source from outside the plane.
Okay, well,
like,
okay, yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
I see what you're saying. Okay.
He's limiting it to. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. When you say a closed system, every perpetual motion machine I've seen, whether it be magnets or anything else, they all rely on you believing that the thing won't stop. Like the magnet ones, they move very slow. Most people think that they will continue to spin, but once again, the second law tells us about entropy and work, that you would get friction, and that unit would eventually start slowing down as it experiences friction, and eventually will stop. It won't continue running.
Okay, what about in a quantum theory or quantum mechanics? A diamagnet, with is basically, what is that called? On the tip of my tongue, quantum levitation, basically. There's no friction. If you push that, it will continue to go.
Right, but that's relevant to the force that you put behind it. That's you adding energy to the system to push.
Okay, I see what you're saying. That makes sense. Makes sense.
Like it don't move on its own, right? You literally have to push it to get it going.
Exactly. Yeah, that's not its own force. Okay.
The perpetual motion machines run on themselves. They run on their own energy, and that's what makes them impossible, because you can't create energy, and there's no way to get around entropy.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. That was a small part that I think I left out.
Yeah, the first law says you can't create it. The second one says everything experiences entropy.
Yeah, well, like you were saying, Peanuts, the main thing is, to me, is whether it's something Gary's saying or you're saying or anybody's saying, you should always look into it, because anyone's agenda doesn't need to be like a negative agenda. No, I'm pretty sure a lot of people out there that are saying that are talking about this fuel hoax thing are definitely coming from a good place. They're coming from a we need truth place. I get that. The problem is if you believe that jet fuel isn't real before you start researching, your research is gonna be, it's not gonna be as accurate as you want it to be. I think you got to look at it from both sides. Everything. I promise. Anything I've ever researched, anything I think or I believe, I've looked at it from both sides. I'll never come just unless it's concave Earth. If it's concave Earth, fuck you.
Yo, wait a minute. What, jet fuel isn't real? What do they think jet fuel is? It's like purified kerosene.
Well, no. Okay, so I've heard, like I said, I've heard different variations of it, and I don't really know 100% about exactly the hoaxes are because I didn't really put too much time into that. I put more time into how it works. Um, well, better yet, Peanuts, do you kind of have an idea of exactly how the hoax is being said to be?
I mean, it's kind of like you said. There's kind of different little theories on it, but really the thing that gets me, I need to see one of these wings taken apart, and that's what I'm looking for. I just want to see, get pictures. I can look at diagrams all day long showing fuel tanks. I want to see a wing taken apart from start to finish, and I want to see the fuel tanks.
Want to
And
know?
that's kind of what I've come to.
I know it would be a badass idea, and I was thinking about this when I was getting the stream together. So I live in San Diego, and San Diego actually has a Boeing and a Lockheed Martin hangar system probably 5 miles from me. Trying to see if I can like go in there if they have like a tour type thing. Because I've looked around and I've seen the pictures and stuff. I get why they are so structurally strong, while at the same time they can't be brittle. They have to have some kind of elasticity to them because of the air, because of the lift and the drag and all that stuff. So there is a way. Like I said, I've seen like model airplanes, like the RC type. I've seen those be built, and the way those are built, the wings are strong as shit. But at the same time, you could probably snap it at the right angle. And I kind of understand that like planes work under the same way system. Whereas in like that Airbus, the thing is that Airbus is probably, I would say, maybe twice, maybe even 3 times the size of a 747, and you're not seeing the structural strength of it in a video like that. Or to me, honestly, to me, that video kind of ruined what he was trying to say, because when a plane comes down that hard, those wings didn't like snap off or nothing. They looked actually pretty damn strong. You know what I mean? So they got to kind of figure those things out. And even if you got to remember, for a plane that can hold that much, the wings have to be very strong. Now, let's just pretend they don't use fuel. Let's say they use chicken shit. It doesn't matter what they use. The thing is those wings, regardless of fuel or not, have to be very strong. And that's just the little things I was looking at on it.
And they, like you talked about earlier, they also have to be strong and withstand very, very cold temperatures.
Yep, they have to be.
Temperature changes the effect of a lot of things.
And that was the other thing. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, I need to look into jet fuel at ambient temperature, and then I need to look at jet fuel -50. I see the difference because.
Well, see, that's also the thing that made it more.
Yeah, I don't think jet fuel would freeze at -50.
It'd probably take a lot more than that.
So, yeah, I think it would take more than that because you're in the negatives.
And what it would do, it wouldn't freeze. It would gel up. It would become more of a jelly rather than a solid object. Because like I run diesel fuel in a lot of equipment, so like I know kind of what diesel fuel does. Once diesel fuel gets below definitely in the negatives, what it does is it actually gels up. So like in Alaska, those trucks that run on the ice roads and stuff, they actually have systems that keep the fuel sloshing, moving, so it never sits too long.
Right.
So
that's like folks that live in really
What's the
really
freezing
cold
point of diesel?
climates.
I
They
don't.
have go ahead.
I'm not sure, Gary. I don't know the exact number. I know it's in the negatives though.
Yeah, I mean, for most fuel sources, they require it to be extremely cold for them to freeze.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, when I say negatives, I'm talking like negative 30, 40 Fahrenheit. I don't know what those are in Celsius, but I'm talking. I mean, extremely cold. Yeah, Upper said we would use naphtha in our cooker while we deployed in Norway. Freezing point negative 30. Jet fuel. Okay, jet fuel is negative 40 to negative 47. Aircraft at 35,000 feet outside temperature approximately 65 or negative 65. Yeah, but they use heaters. You can heat a fuel tank up. That's easy. To keep the fuel from freezing.
I don't think they heat fuel tanks up. That's what I'm saying.
They do. No, they do. It's not.
Have to.
It's not like a flame. You got to remember diesel fuel. See, I don't know exactly how it would work. I know they have on airplanes defrosters on the wings. That would essentially bring the temperature inside the wing up. But diesel fuel doesn't burn like gas does. So you can put an external heat source to it, and it's not going to blow up. Gasoline won't even blow up.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I know some people boil diesel to melt things. So.
Hey, that's one of them. It's just the technology that they have. It's more advanced than just putting fuel in and going. Like, I know for a fact a lot of planes have defrosters on the wings because if they ice over, then they weigh too much, and then shit can happen. And that's more along the lines of
okay,
it being even.
It says diesel fuel in the 50s.
Say it again because you were kind of breaking up.
Sorry, it says diesel fuel will begin to gel up or turn into a wax liquid at 10 to 15 degrees.
Okay, well, that makes sense because, like, the guys that do run in those ice roads and all that stuff, they constantly keep their engines running.
Right.
Keep the flow of diesel.
Gasoline, for gasoline, it's negative 70 degrees Fahrenheit.
Wow. I wonder, does that mean it becomes less combustible? Like, if it froze, would it still be able to fire? Question. I wonder. Too bad I don't have an industrial freezer.
3 degrees Fahrenheit.
What did you say? The jet fuel is?
Negative 53.
Okay.
Wow. Man.
And remember that also. So anyone saying that they use compressed water, they couldn't use that.
Because this freezing point is, of course, right at 32.
Yep. It would freeze. I don't think you could even. I don't think you could keep the flow fast enough for it to not freeze over at negative 53.
I want to back up for a second, Sean.
They could probably put some antifreeze in there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. See, there's definitely different ways to it.
At my job, they just put antifreeze in there, and it will chill down pretty. The antifreeze keeps it from freezing.
Well, yeah, that'll add to it. Yeah. But what were you saying, Peanuts? You want to back up and what's up?
So I started looking into this topic. I started thinking of a few movies that I've seen when I used to watch movies. You see the airplane in the air, and then you see the other airplane come in front of it, and the line comes out, and then it hooks up for the fuel.
Yeah.
Put fuel in the airplane.
Uh huh.
I have real trouble, believing that. And the reason why I kind of jumped on this topic is because it makes sense to me in my head that they want you to think about running out of fuel. Feel like if you just left in an airplane, where would you reach? And so it's almost like a control mechanism to me, and makes me think that by controlling you with fuel, if you just get in a plane and you just go south, where the hell are you going to refuel that?
But see,
Right?
check this out though. So in that case, then why wouldn't they have suppressed the solar technology?
Yeah, that's a good
Because
point.
I'm betting money it'd probably be cheaper to build a solar power plane like the one we were looking at before than to buy or build a plane that can make it to Antarctica.
Right.
And
Do you kind of understand what I mean
oh yeah,
by that?
oh yeah,
Because in your mind it makes you think that you can't really keep, because you're thinking of fuel, and I've always thought that's why they're showing refueling planes in the air, to make you think, okay, well, you got to have fuel to go on.
well the thing they did with that is they just made it so a plane you can go buy or a plane you see at your local airport, they don't have those same attachments. So I mean, the only ones you see those are like government, military. The port to be able to do that. The only issue I've seen is that I mean there are a million videos of them doing it. I mean, even and just say it's not fuel, it's water, okay, but they're still able to hook it up, and you know what I mean. And I've also seen videos where they're snatching those hoses clean off the planes. I mean, so it's not like a everyone's doing it thing. I just think I definitely see where you're coming from, but at the same time, I mean, you got to understand the capabilities of a plane and what planes would need to refuel. Now, if they were saying they were doing that with jetliners, I would definitely be on board with what you're saying because that would make zero sense. Seem a little dangerous, but it just doesn't sit well only because there is that solar technology that we were looking at, and they showed. I mean, you could easily do it. Now, what I weird about that solar pole impulse video, because I watched a few of them. All their videos, that I didn't see one curve. They didn't talk about one curve. Any of the outside shots, there was no curve, nothing. Now, they didn't say nothing about it being, oh yeah, it's a globe. There's nothing at all. So their agenda wasn't, it's a globe. And I'm telling you now, all the pictures and videos I watched, not one curve, not one crappy camera that showed a weird angle.
Yeah.
But
yeah, when they don't have that fisheye lens, it just looks flat, doesn't it?
oh yeah, definitely,
It is flat.
exactly. It's the only good thing about this whole jet fuel hoax thing is it does add one more thing for everyone to research. I just hope that like you're saying, Peanuts, you're gonna like really start looking into it. That's all I want. I don't want anyone to think that I know everything or just stop believing that because I said so. I just want people to look into everything a lot more.
If I have to go, and ask to visit the inside of some of these hangars, I'm for fuel tank supply trucks. I mean, there's got to be huge pumps.
Oh yeah,
to pump all this fuel. There's got to be storage for all this fuel.
I used to work at the airport,
Yeah.
Homeboy, he was a manager for the fueling group that fueled the actual airplanes. So I seen the big tanks. I seen the trucks that they keep full of fuel. I don't know if that help anything. I mean, they do exist.
Yeah, it'd be badass if you can get like a tour or like a walk around at an airport, legendary.
I used to work. I used to work at BWI. I used to work on the tarmac. I was security, but my job was to drive around the tarmac and to, check the locks and the gates. This was back. It's like 10 years ago. But my homeboy, he was a manager at a company called Signature, and Signature owned the contract for the fueling of all the airplanes at BWI. So Delta, JetBlue, Southwest, any plane that comes into BWI and needs fueling, they would they have these really huge tanks that sit off of the site, off of BWI, full of jet fuel, and you will need a Signature tanks over the trucks over there fueling up all day. It's an all day process.
Yep.
And then going back, guy that gets under the wing and hooks up the hose and all that. But I mean, I don't know.
I mean,
I thought they was putting jet fuel in them.
Let's wait. The wings are actually stronger with fuel than they would be empty. If you really think about it. It almost gives it its structure strength almost. It's just like I said.
So is the argument that they're not using jet fuel? Is that the argument?
It's basically, it's not that they're not using it at all. It's the amount of fuel that they're saying that they're using.
Yeah, see, that was what confused me, because when I originally found out about this, it was no fuel at all. But last night, it was explained to me that it wasn't that. It was actually, we're paying for a certain amount that should, if you really, marked it all out, it should equal this amount, but they're overpricing us because they're not really using as much fuel as they say. And that was what I was saying a little while ago. I mean, there's actually like 3 or 4 different views on this, so it's kind of hard to pinpoint what everyone believes about it. And that was kind of why I wanted to stream and be like, this is how they work, rather than this is everything is all crap. So you know what I mean? It basically depends on who you're talking to figure out which fuel hoax this is that they're trying to describe. Now, if you want to talk the fuel prices compared to what we're paying and what they're saying they're using, I 100% believe that. I believe that right now in a heartbeat. I promise you, we're paying way more than we need to pay. I'll guarantee it.
Well, and that also Sean, that also kind of coincides with when a person becomes a flat earther, they realize that people conspire against them. People are always trying to get over on them.
Oh yeah.
And so any time, like I think that's why this topic kind of really made a big hit, because people realize that we're all getting fucked, and it's just how we're getting fucked, in what ways, and how we can prove it.
Well, and that's what makes it even worse. I'm sorry, I apologize. No, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, I mean, I understand where you're coming from, because falling in the tracks of something like this can discredit flat earthers.
Exactly, and that's my fear.
But go ahead.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I'm doing it. There are so many people. I don't think Gary's ever said it, but a lot of people that believe it's a globe still will do. There's too many conspiracies. How if the government was doing all this stuff so bad, we would know about it. It wouldn't be a conspiracy. It'd be facts and be public knowledge. Well, understand that. Yeah, you're right. There's a lot of conspiracies. There's so many fucking conspiracies. We don't even know them all. We can't even touch on how many there really are that are really going on, that are really true. The one thing that Flat Earth opened up to me wasn't the conspiracy thing. I was already kind of looking into stuff before, but what it really did was it made me realize I don't know everything, even if I know everything about a topic, because what they tell you, how it really works, and the research you'll find always turns up different. And having book smarts is great. I think it's wonderful. I'm a firm advocate that I need to know everything Gary knows, and then some, whether it's not about flat Earth or not, or you know what I mean? Because whatever he knows, it has something to do with flat Earth, and I have to figure out what it has to do with flat Earth, and if it works on either ideas. You know what I mean? You can't just be one-sided. If you're just one-sided, then you don't. I'm going to tell you now, from what I've seen and I've been around, the people that run with everything. I mean, these are the ones that, like, every time you hear about something, they're like, yeah, that's what it is. I doubt they're doing any research. They're just running with it. That's what scares me. Luckily, I know a lot of you guys aren't like that. So I'm not saying any of you guys I'm worried about. Problem is the people that don't research, and there's a lot of them. I know that because one of the things that compelled me to start streaming was the fact that I had so much research and so much to say. And I don't think there's enough creators out there. I like to see every single YouTuber have a live stream. I've been told, well, if every single person had a live stream, no one would be showing up to yours. Fuck, oh well. But I know if you have a live stream, you're researching, because it's almost impossible to live stream and say anything without some kind of research. Let me see what's up in the chat. They're not really saying that much about it, but yeah.
Yeah, I would much rather be around people who would say, well, I'm going to look into it, and then I'm going to look at different sources, and then I'm going to use my discernment, rather than, hey, I saw this on TV, it's true, you know?
Yeah, like, well, how do you know it's true? Oh, well, they said it was. That's like the worst.
CNN said it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that should be, for people who believe it's a globe, or anybody who doubts anything, that should be like the biggest red flag right there. We've caught them lying. CNN, NBC, CB, all those news, we know they're lying. We know the government has them in their pockets. And you're telling me that everything you've heard from them over all those years is still true to you?
Right. And that's and if we take whatever NASA says as how you base what is true and what's not.
Exactly. There's only one way, one possible way to find out what's true or not.
Information off of who it comes off of, that would be a fallacy.
Well, but you have to accept everything NASA says.
No, I
even
don't.
all their CGI pictures.
What?
Okay, but if you don't accept everything they say, then what parts of the things you do believe in have you picked apart? Because if you believe one thing NASA says, you got to remember there's 5 to 10 different aspects of that they've either lied about or you haven't looked into yet.
How are you determining their lies?
For many years, for many years, NASA told everybody these are real pictures of Earth. These are real pictures of our universe. Over the years, we've now found out that when they get a picture of the universe, it's not in color. It's not even clear. If you looked at a real picture of what they say is space, it doesn't look anything like what they're showing us. Anything like what they're showing us, Gary, and you know that's true, right?
I know that when it's a rendering, it says rendering. They don't.
Okay.
Hi.
And you're telling me, and I know you're not old, but you're not young, so I know you're old enough to be able to distinguish between the two. 15 years ago, was NASA putting those saying this is a rendering, this is a CGI composite? Were they doing that?
Yes, they always stated what was a rendering and what wasn't. It's never been hidden. It's not a secret.
Yeah, it is a secret. It's not a secret anymore.
To who?
Because they weren't doing that 15 years ago.
No, they always up front said which ones were photos and which ones were renderings.
Oh no, that's the problem. Well, that's the problem. Their photos are rendered, are edited, are artist renderings.
No, they say which ones are artist renderings.
Well, that's the problem. That's what I'm saying. So show me a picture of a black and white picture of just blobs or just things you wouldn't be able to really tell what the hell you're even looking at, because those are what the real images are. But they're not showing those. They're showing anything you see in color is not what the fuck they see.
Right, for some of the longer range ones, yes.
For any of them.
No, not for any of them. Some of them they do use cameras now.
I would like to see them. Because the ones I know of, all the real raw images, first of all, in space, there's like the way, I don't know exactly how it works, but I know damn well in space when they're taking these images, they don't see like we see around us right now, where your TV screen is a big green screen with letters on it. You don't see in color the same way.
Yeah, they have to extrapolate some of that data based off of what they believe it would look like.
That's what we're trying to say, Gary. How do they know? It's what they believe. It's not what they know. It's what they believe. The same way Jupiter, they know they don't know what's inside the center of Jupiter. They think they know. They can guess that they know. Am I right?
Right, based off the information they gathered, they're able to make an educated guess.
Okay, so isn't it better for them to say? Isn't it better for them to say we believe there's a hard rock iron crust inside Saturn or Jupiter, rather than say there is? Because they say there is, not hey, with our best thought, our best ideas, and our think tank, that's a solid core in there. Because what they don't say is we can't see inside the center of Saturn. We can't. It's impossible. We can't see what's in Jupiter. They don't say that, but that's the truth.
No, they tell you based off the information they have what they believe it's composed of.
Yeah, but
why is that a problem?
No, but because what you're saying makes sense. What you're saying makes 100% sense, Gary, if that's what they said. But they do not tell you it's what they believe. They tell you that's what it is. If you go, like, for instance,
I didn't mean to go off on a tangent.
Oh,
Gary,
no.
Basically, all I was saying was once one lie is caught, then everything has to become in question.
Exactly.
No, some of these aren't lies. Some of these you have misinformation.
Okay,
they literally said this is an artist
one
render.
time, Gary.
But Gary,
what? NASA lied one time.
What do you mean lied? About what?
Anything.
What information would they?
From the beginning of
I can
NASA
tell you there's
to the end of
information
NASA.
that NASA has put out that they were wrong about. I don't know if that means that they lied.
Okay.
Because they were wrong about the information.
What research have you done to know if they have lied or not? Like, have you looked?
What do you mean lied?
Like,
I mean, are you asking me if NASA's ever putting out? I don't think NASA's ever put out information purposely that's incorrect, but they have put out information that was not correct.
Okay, but have you?
You know that for a fact.
Okay, have you done the research to figure out if something they're saying is a lie or not? Or do you just say
lie? I mean, are you saying that
for
information that I have that NASA has purposely?
For instance, the moon landing. Have you ever looked into the discrepancies in the moon landing that we see?
I've seen what people consider to be discrepancies, but normally
no. Not what people have shown you, that you have researched yourself.
Yes, I've went through the information and seen what people are calling. They have given cogent answer to what.
Bro, can we talk about the admission of Stanley Kubrick when he said that he filmed it? Like that should be no more evidence than you need. When he came out and said that he filmed the moon landing, that it was done in a Hollywood studio, and he got together with the CIA, and he felt like he did a disservice to the American people, so he came out and spoke on it, and that's when he made Eyes Wide Shut, and when he gave them that rendition of that Rothschild party, they offed him. That's what happens. But see, that's the thing, is people don't believe it. They won't believe that. They'll just believe what the authority, what the establishment says. They take that and run with it.
Yeah, I don't think so.
You can say you don't think so. Kubrick came out and admit what you need. Like the moon landing was totally fake. It's crazy, and he admitted it. But like I said, we want to dream, we want to believe. So hey, to give you hope that you could look up at the moon and realize that maybe you might be able to get up there. That, hey, but the man admitted that he got together with the CIA and filmed the moon landing.
Okay, now Gary, when you hear that, do you think I'm gonna go find that video? I want to go see what he's talking about, or do you think that's bullshit? It didn't happen that way.
Sorry, this man doesn't have any validity to him.
Okay,
but there are aspects of the footage that you see that let you know that they're seeing it from the moon. That it's consistent.
Okay.
With it being filmed.
What about the
on the moon?
Hey, yeah, okay. So they're filming it from got there before them to film that. They're giving you a cinematic version, and it's believable. So we buy it.
There are
I want to
cameras.
I want to hear. Look, Gary, just answer this one thing for me. Who was there already, waiting for them to land on the moon? Who caught the first glimpse of them landing? There was a camera set up on the moon already that caught the entire landing. This had nothing to do with the legs of the lunar, a separate entity that's already on the moon, catching the lunar module landing on the moon. So who was there? Deny it, you can be in denial and say that you can keep saying that it's on the legs, but if you go back and watch the actual landing, you will see that the beginning there's somebody there already that caught them ascending onto the moon.
When they took off, there's a very good picture of them took off because they left.
No, it's not. I'm not confusing anything. If you go back and watch it, you'll see it yourself. But you have your own rendition of it. You're saying, you feel me? You're not admitting to it that there was somebody there already that caught them landing. You just saying that, oh, it must be the legs, cameras on the legs, or you're talking about when they took off.
My bad. I was freaking talking with my mic off. God damn it. Yeah. I was just reading. History. All right, my bad. You guys still there? You there, Gary?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, my bad. I think the main thing is, see, I don't see Gary being like type of person that just doesn't care to hear something like that. I definitely think you're stuck in your ways. I think you'll argue your point to the death of yourself rather than look into alternate possibilities of it. There's so many things that I saw when I started doing the moon hoax thing, and the first one, the one that just tops it all off, is the Van Allen belt. Going through it, going around it, what they were doing before they launched for the moon, the whole nine, everything about it smells funny. Before they Apollo launched, they spent 3 years trying to blow holes in the Van Allen belt to be able to get to outer space. You heard about that, right, Gary?
I don't think so.
You don't think that's what?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay, you want to see a video of the guy who discovered the Van Allen belt say that's what they were doing? Because there's videos of it, of him himself saying it.
Okay.
Let's not
That they
forget
were
the
doing.
temperatures. Let's not forget the temperatures of the Van Allen belt of 4,000 degrees, right? There is nothing that can withstand that temperature that they could create.
Exactly. I'm telling you right. You're all choppy. Is that me?
That could withstand that heat.
Hang on one second, guys. My Wi-Fi is going on shit right now. See if I can get this to work better.
Oh shit, my bad.
No, it's all good. I was hearing what you're saying. You're talking about Van Allen belt being 4,000 degrees. It doesn't make sense because the other aspects of that is that, or what I was saying. So, are you even willing to research the fact that I just said that what they were doing when they were shooting nukes into space were trying to punch holes in the Van Allen belt? Or, Gary, would you be willing to research that yourself?
Yeah, you can give me the information, but I doubt they were trying to. Why
Say it again.
would that is shooting holes in it is going to do?
Well, see, that was the problem. What they did was they were trying to shoot these nukes up to punch holes in the Van Allen belt. The problem is what they realized they were really doing was adding to the Van Allen belt. And then they stopped because they were worried about the actual chemical reaction of doing this, whether or not it would amplify the radiation. And these are
yeah, I'm not even sure what you're talking about.
I'm just saying. That's why I'm saying you should probably do some research on it. And you said give you information. I just did. The man who discovered Van Allen belts describes how they were trying to get through the Van Allen belts. Now, let's just say in a mythical world that they realized that it wasn't even that bad nowadays. But guess what? That was before the moon mission. And I'm pretty sure in 4 years, they didn't figure it out. I'm just saying, you should research it. Now, I don't want to go back and find all the information that helped me realize that. But I promise you, if you do some research on it, you'll find it. I believe in you, Gary. I think you are a research-based person.
Yeah, I think I saw a video. Did you do a video on this already where you thought when they were testing nukes in the upper atmosphere?
Yeah, I mean,
no, that was somebody trying to show me that the blast was bouncing off the firmament. That's what.
Yeah, no,
that's a different.
Yeah, I don't run with the firmament.
Well, I do. Let's put two and two together right now with what you're talking about, right? So Warner von Braun, when he died, he left a scripture on his tombstone that said, God showed his handiwork through the sword of the firmament, right? So why would the grandfather of NASA put anything regarding the firmament on his tombstone, right? Now let's look at Operation Fishbowl. Just for instance, say we know what that, we'll just take that as literal. Fishbowl. Now, let's look at word Dominic, it means of God. What are they doing shooting bombs up into the sky? And why would they name it that?
Because Van Allen belt you're basically a fishbowl of radiation. I think when they say firmament, there are so many different translations of firmament. It could just be our atmosphere be considered inside a firmament, because it's not an atmosphere out there.
Well, the word firm is something solid.
True, but again, I don't know all the aspects of the what do you call it, the origins of the words and all that kind of stuff, and especially with the Bible. But it makes more sense to me that the change in the atmosphere and atmosphere to no atmosphere would be considered a firmament. It would considered a barrier between the two. I personally can't ride with the fact that it's a solid one. Based on I do believe in comets and rockets and all, or rockets going into low Earth orbit. Now, if we're talking expanding the distance of this dome, expanding the distance of the sun and the moon, I could then maybe think about it that way. But there are there are things that you can see, to me personally, that would make no sense to it. For instance, I was thinking if you're using a telescope to look at a star or a moon, and there was a firmament, at certain points you would see a glare, but you don't see a glare looking through a telescope into space. Or if there was a dome, we wouldn't see it wouldn't be blue. We would see reflection of reflection, and it would be as dark as the ocean. I would think. I would personally think.
Well, I'm saying as far as the glare goes, you could have some sort of solid, that may not show the glare.
But nice. But see, here's the thing.
When you look.
I'm sorry. I wasn't meaning to cut you off. Okay.
Good.
Okay. The problem is, and here's the biggest problem I have with the dome. If you're describing it as what people are today, as this physical object, it would have had it. It doesn't make sense. I mean, it would have to be like glass, or you know what I mean, or then you're saying maybe there's a layer of tint on it. So it's kind of for me, if it's described like you're describing it, it means it's a physical object, meaning it would need repair, meaning it would need cleaning or whatever. But I can't see how that would be possible.
Oh, anything possible, bro.
Well, that's of course.
What all the stuff that we know ain't real, and they done made it so real in our mind. Anything could be possible.
That's true. That's true. Like I said, I'm not a astrologer. I'm not into astrology and cosmology and all that stuff, so I don't really know. But it's just what makes more sense to me in my research, really. Okay, so
yeah, I agree. I mean, the thing that kind of got me looking into the firmament a lot was the Libyan desert glass. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
Yep. Yeah, I have.
Yeah, man, it's it doesn't melt. You feel me? They tried to melt it. It doesn't melt. And when you I guess the Bible, I'm not nothing like that, but the Bible refers to the firmament as strong as molten glass. So, that shit don't melt.
Yeah, but to see that's also there's parts in there where the whole burning bush, that's like ayahuasca or mushrooms. So I mean, they were on drugs too. Let's keep it real. They were doing a lot of drugs back then.
Great.
And like you were saying, we don't. Here's the reality of it all. Anything that happened that's part of a past, whether it be an hour ago, we don't know everything. We can't. It's impossible. It already happened. Not gonna happen. Look. You can go back and watch a stream and think you know the whole situation, but for all you know, something happened a stream or two before that. And the reality of it is history because it's history. I mean, it's made up. The best term I've ever heard was all history is made by the kings who won wars. For all we know, there's
his story.
Yeah, exactly. For all we know, everything we know could be the complete opposite based on whoever wanted to say it. That's just reality.
If you get a chance, whenever you got Gary on, you should show him that video of that train tank collapsing.
Oh,
because of the vacuum.
Yeah.
And then show him that, and then ask Gary if a human being has ever been in this space.
Or I have a better question for it. Gary, you know that even with things we don't see, like the vacuums NASA makes to test their equipment, you do know that even though they test it, it's impossible, or they have never figured out a way to make the perfect vacuum, the vacuum of space, they can't replicate it.
You don't understand that the only thing means when they say a vacuum is that there's either low or no pressure.
I understand that. That's exactly what they're trying to simulate the vacuum of space.
What would the pressure be composed?
Say again?
The pressure.
Well, that's the funny part. They can't measure it either.
No, the pressure they're measuring on Earth, we know what that is.
Oh, no, okay. Right? The atmospheric, it's 14.7. Okay.
Yeah, but what is air pressure, right? Air pressure, right?
I didn't hear what you said. Say it again.
It's air pressure, right?
Atmospheric pressure, yes.
Yeah, so it's air pressure. So they extract the air out of it, and that's how they get what they're calling a vacuum.
So are you saying they're not trying to simulate space?
What do you mean when they do the
vacuum chambers and all that stuff?
Yeah, the vacuum chamber test is they remove the pressure.
Okay.
Because that's what.
Do you understand that there are levels of vacuum?
What they're saying, as you remove pressure, you get to a certain with atmospheres.
Okay.
And if you go.
Okay, better yet, you understand they can't remove 100% of the atmosphere like they say space is, what I'm saying.
Well, we get pretty close.
No, we can't. We can't even get close. And this is scientist words.
Yeah. No. People test. There are channels on YouTube where people have their own homemade vacuum.
100%. And guess what? They can the best they'll ever get is low vacuum. Remember, I told you there are levels of vacuum.
Yes, there are levels of vacuum, but at some point, no pressure.
Okay, so are you saying they can simulate space?
Sure. They get very close. NASA has one of the largest vacuum chambers in the world. I know that.
Okay. But now answer the question. Can they replicate the vacuum of space?
I don't know if they can get it like exactly 100%, but they get very close. I couldn't give you the percentage.
I can. But what I'm doing right now is I'm trying to find the notes that have the exact numbers from NASA. Remember, I try to come with everything, right information. And I'm going to tell you right now, they cannot replicate space. They can't even get close.
No, I'm sure they get close. They get as close as possible.
No, they get it. Oh, yeah. Close as possible is not the same as close. Not almost. It's a very, very big line. I mean, it's huge. It's, like I said, I have the number. I just got to find it real quick, which I'm doing as we speak. I found that very interesting to find out that, oh, wait, you guys can't even get close to what space is really like. And I thought, that how do you test to put people out there if that's the case? That's why they can't. That's why the ISS is where it's at. They can't. If they go any further, they can't. They can only go as far as they can test to put a human in.
So that means that they can't test an astronaut suit for the pressures of space.
Exactly.
Yes, they can.
Therefore,
how?
Just because it's not 100% perfect.
Gary,
wait. Okay, Gary. See, you're not understanding something. You're saying because it's not perfect. You don't understand the how far in between what they can do and what the reality of space would be.
No, they don't have to. They don't have to get it perfect. They only have to get close to do the test.
Well, let me get this right. So they give you a
People's
spacesuit.
lives are at stake.
Exactly. So if they gave you a spacesuit and went, "Hey, we can't, get it exactly like space, but hey, we're pretty close. Put the spacesuit on and jump on board and have fun."
Yeah. Do you know how much stuff that you use currently today where it's on an estimate?
Yeah, it does. That has to do with our lives. Yeah. Like what? Because when they build cars, they have to be pretty damn spot on.
No, they're not. Right, nothing is 100%. Give me something that's on your car that's 100%.
I didn't say 100%.
Your brakes aren't even 100%.
Okay, but you're comparing. Now you're comparing our brakes to space travel.
No, I'm not comparing. I'm comparing the fact that everything we use has a range and a tolerance, and we do it within certain ranges and tolerance that we feel is acceptable, that is close.
Okay, well, the vacuum of space and how a body reacts in the vacuum of space seems pretty important.
Right. We have got
You there?
where the numbers on like you had in every experiment you have control. You have a control set. So knowing that the control setting isn't what it's supposed to be, would you accept the results of that experiment?
I'm sorry.
Oh, let me get that out of here. I'm saying so every experiment you do has a control, right? So if space is 0%, right? Would you accept the results of an experiment? What it should be. So if space is 0% and the control, they can't get it to exact specifications of space, would you accept the results of that experiment as being accurate or relative?
Yeah, it depends on how close. It depends on how close the information is to you know, the variable that we need.
Then how close to space do they need to be for you to put a spacesuit on and trust them?
Well, since we've had people go in space now, and I'm assuming that the tests that they're doing is adequate.
Well, the ISS isn't actually outer space, and it's not.
Well, I mean, we've had people in outer space. That's not the issue.
And there's still atmosphere. Oh, it is the issue because they talk about today. They talk about it like they still haven't.
Yeah, they have people go do spacewalks, and the suits that they use are adequate to do those walks.
Well, first of all, the ISS, again, like I said, the ISS isn't in outer space. It's not in perfect vacuum either.
No, it's, you know, it's close.
You keep close and there are two different things.
Right, but we have levels and degrees of certainty of what we expect, and they're within our expectations.
Okay, then why don't they put these guys in spacesuits 1,000 miles away?
Why would they be putting them in a spacesuit 1,000 miles away?
Why not? It's space. Aren't they exploring it?
They explore it, and they explore it where they know it's safe. If they want to go beyond that, they may use different equipment.
So wouldn't you say that because it's not safe, because they can't replicate the space or the vacuum of space, that's why they haven't gone further than they already are right now with the ISS?
I would say for the equipment they're using and for the task that they're using, the equipment they're using is adequate.
Okay,
so it's like if you're going to,
so what you're saying is you're willing to admit that the spacesuits are the distance they're at right now. The spacesuits are adequate because that's as close to the vacuum of space as they can get at that distance.
Those suits have been tested and are confirmed to tolerate the area in which they're going to be occupying. It's like if you're going to Greenland, you're going to need a certain amount of winter gear. But if you're going to Antarctica, you're going to need a whole different set of Arctic gear. You can't use the same set of winter gear that you use to go to Iceland or to Greenland to go to the Arctic. They're not comfortable. You're going to need better equipment, right?
Exactly. Now,
right.
All right.
So when they're going into low Earth orbit,
so I was going to say this.
They're going to Greenland. If they were trying to go to Antarctica, they would use different gear.
All right, cool. So with that logic, did the astronaut who was riding around in Elon Musk Tesla, didn't he have on the same equipment in outer space as all the rest of them do, fixing satellites and doing all this other nonsense?
That's not an astronaut. The guy that was in the Tesla it was like a mannequin in there.
How come that stuff doesn't burn up or pop like a can?
Actually, they said they didn't know what the effects of it would have out in outer space.
Okay,
I don't know what happened to the.
Well, then how come it hasn't crushed itself like a can?
Oh, I don't know. Once again, I haven't went and saw what's happened to it since then. I know it's still up there, but I didn't even watch the feed after the initial one, so I don't know what the effects of space has had on that vehicle.
I can tell you right now, it's not structurally sound for space, and thus meaning it should be crumpled like a can on the first time it hit space.
I don't know if it would crumple like a can. I mean,
pretty much. And
there's probably some aspects of it that have broken. There's probably direct solar sunlight without being filtered through the atmosphere. It's probably killed the paint. I mean, who knows what's happened to that car since it's been up there. I haven't seen any images of it since it's been up in space.
Well, I'm happy you said that.
I've seen the initial. But I haven't seen any additional ones afterwards to show the conditions of the car afterwards.
I'm happy you said that.
I don't know anybody who asked.
Because this is on recording. So when they show that next update of the Tesla, and that motherfucker looks like it just got done from a car wash, I'm gonna love it. I'm like, I can't wait for everyone to be like, well, see, what happened was they used a special space wax that keeps the paint from chipping in space. All that space debris in that car is going to be in perfect shape. It's going to be wonderful. I can't wait.
But what would happen if you saw it and it wasn't anything like you thought it was?
If it was all crumpled up and looked like a junkyard vehicle, I would hope it looked like that.
You can obviously see the effects of that space is having on the vehicle. I mean, color-wise, it may be hard to actually...
I'd be like, at least some real shit finally happened. But you already said it. They said when they launched it, they had no idea what the effects of space would do to that car. Why not? They've been putting satellites out there, rockets, humans, the whole nine. You would think they would have an idea of what space does to space, to vehicles in space.
Who, Tesla? No, I don't think Tesla would. They don't.
Why?
They're not experts. They're not NASA. Well, they're a different company. They're a privately funded company that doesn't actually work with NASA and don't. No one has an expertise really in space travel except most space organizations.
SpaceX, correct?
SpaceX is a new company and they hire ex-NASA employees, but they're not all experts.
Well, they have to relay to NASA first of all. Oh wait, so you're telling me that they're launching these things out there and they're not experts?
No. They're a new company who has new ideas, and the main thing Tesla is trying to do is make a rocket, reusable rockets, ones that go up and land that you don't have to just let fall in the ocean and turn into junk.
Okay, and you're saying these guys aren't experts? You're telling me that they're launching satellites, returning the parts of the rockets and all this crap, and they don't know what a Tesla car would do in space?
No, I mean, they may have a hypothesis, but they don't know actually because a Tesla car has never been in space.
That's what I'm saying.
Do you think they took the car and did a bunch of tests on it so they can tell you what's going to happen to it? They could probably make some educated guesses.
They should know what the type of metal that the car's made of will do. They should know what rubber will do out there. They should know what alloy will do out there. They should know what every component of that car will do in space by now.
Well, they can make educated guesses, but they don't actually know.
Well, they do know because if they've been launching stuff, they should definitely know. If you're in the space exploration,
no one's ever launched a car into space.
But they've launched metals. There are different type of metals. There's different type of materials they've launched into space. They should have a very They should have a very, very educated guess about what it is. Not they don't know.
No, once again, since a car has never been launched in space, a car's components, no, they don't. Most people don't pay money to send automobiles.
You don't have to send an automobile. You just have to send those materials.
Why would they be sending car tires into space?
So you're telling me there's no rubber material on a space shuttle?
Well, no, I mean, from my understanding, the space shuttle has wheels on it too. But I'm pretty sure they know.
Okay, so then they know what rubber does in space. So you're telling me there's no alloy on a space shuttle?
It may not be the same alloy they put on a car.
I'm pretty sure they use different type of alloys throughout the whole shuttle, correct? And I'm pretty sure the car probably has some
aluminum, bro. Aluminum. It's the Tesla is made of aluminum.
Right, so they know what happens with aluminum.
Okay, so then how do they not know what the car is going to do?
Once again, they said they didn't know what the effects of space would have on the paint, the interior.
Why?
Some of the components.
They've put paint, they've put alloys, they've put rubber, they've put all those materials into space. You don't have to put you don't have to, but you don't have to put them together into a car to know what those materials will do.
Okay, you're asking two different questions.
No.
You're asking me when NASA stuff into space and they prepare it for space travel, then they say we can put this in and have experience of what happens in space, and we make components that are space worthy. And then when Tesla makes a car, they're not making a car and making components that are going to be space worthy. They're just making components to drive on Earth.
When they made those components to be space worthy, you don't think they tested everything that a car is made of through the stronger materials to see what is?
No.
Okay. So what you're saying is that they guessed what to put in space, and because the Tesla isn't a spacecraft, that they don't know what those materials will do in space sounds far-fetched to me. They should know what every material does in space. And what you're saying, SpaceX is a new company. They wouldn't let me, you, and Legendary launch a rocket into space without being experts at launching shit into space.
No, the company went through the stages of getting permission to launch things in space. They showed that they can safely launch things, and they took precautions just in case they made a mistake. But they used their money. And if you have your own money, you can start your own company and do whatever the hell you want to with your money.
Oh, no, you can't. No, you can't. You got to be regulated. If that were the case, everyone would have a fucking nuclear missile.
Right. There are some regulations that you have to follow. Just like I said, before Tesla could launch something into space, they had to prove that they took the proper safety precautions to protect the public just in case they made a mistake.
Okay, and if they built a rocket out of 10 cans, don't you think the regulations would go, hey, stupid, can't fire 10 cans into space?
Right, they would say it's unsafe and it's a threat to the public.
Okay, well, so those are the type of things they do, and how they know every component of that Tesla car, what it will do in space, because they've gone through the gauntlet of what's the lowest material we can use to what's the best material but the most expensive. So to say that they don't know what the effects of space will be on that Tesla car, it sounds like bullshit. I don't even think there's a fucking Tesla car out there. First of all,
I don't know why it would sound like bullshit. It's just them being honest to say that this car wasn't built for space. We're going to put it in space, and we don't know what's going to happen to the components when they're in space because they weren't made for space. I don't know how that's bullshit.
No.
That seems pretty reasonable.
But nothing happened, bro. It was floating around space and nothing happened at all. It was good. It was an astronaut chilling in the driver's seat.
Yeah, because theoretically,
he wasn't an astronaut. That was a mannequin.
Theoretically,
it was like a doll.
Hey, Gary, theoretically, the first solar flare that hit that car should be vaporized.
You think solar flares make it all the way to the planet?
Yeah, 100%. No, wait.
No,
they don't make it. They don't. They don't. They don't make it to. They don't make it to.
That's if you believe in solar flares.
I do.
You can actually witness solar flares.
Not the way NASA presents them to us, or any scientific organization that's sponsored by the government shows up burning ball of nuclear fire flames with solar flares and big bubbles. That's all CGI right there. Same thing with the planets that they show us.
No, I mean, you literally can see solar flares. You do not need NASA to do that. You can do it with a telescope. They saw solar flares way before NASA was ever even a space organization.
But you're not observing what they're showing you when it's given to you by one of these organizations.
What do you mean organization? Any person with a proper telescope, a proper solar
any organization
see a solar flare,
bro. So you asking what organizations? NASA, it's a bunch of other ones, bro, that do studies on the sun, and they show us these big burning balls of nuclear fire and say that the sun's energy is nuclear radiation, and the solar flares could wipe out the Earth, but it hasn't harmed not one single satellite or nothing.
They say the solar flares affect our technology. That solar flares will affect some of our radio signals and other such.
That's what they say, bro. Ain't none of that ever happened yet.
Like most flat earthers I talk to, they think the sun is a light orb, and it's like, what is that? Can you give me an example of something in reality?
It's just a light. It's a
Yeah,
light
what is
that
that?
moves around the North Pole. It's like the moon, and it's electric. That's why the
What?
plants grow off electric energy, and when we eat the plants, it regenerates our cells. But
Yeah, but can you
that's
give me an
another story.
example? Can you give me an example of a light orbit? Like, what is that? What is it? What is it composed of?
It's like I'm saying. I mean, since I can't give you an example of this and that, just like you can't give me an example of how gravity holds another object to another object just to a sheer size.
No,
So,
I can give you.
the
Yeah, I
light,
can give you. I can give you an example of that. That's easy.
gravity, you cannot put a basketball into a pea and watch the pea start orbiting around the basketball. It doesn't work.
Well, it doesn't
You
work
can't
like that. You are correct. It doesn't work like that because that's not how gravity works. I can give you to give you a better understanding of how large mass objects affect gravity to cause them to come in. I want you to think about putting a bowling ball on a trampoline, and the trampoline represents space, and that massive object is actually affecting the space around it, causing it to curve inwards. And if you put things on the edge, you will see them all fall in towards the larger object. That's similar to how gravity works.
Bro, then that means that we would have to have a flexible, like that's not reproducing gravity. That's just some putting a bowling ball on a trampoline and things roll inwards because the bowling ball creates.
The trampoline represents space. So you occupy space, the Earth occupies space, and the Earth is affecting the space that we occupy. That's why we fall inwards towards the mass.
The trampoline can't represent space because it's a solid object that has tension in it. It can't represent outer space.
That is just an example of. I'm not saying that the term is an accurate representation of space. It is just an example to show you how large objects affect the space around us. It is similar to that. That will give you a visual representation.
If you say so, bro, I don't buy.
Okay. Yeah, I was just using the trampoline in an analogous way so that you would have an example of what I'm trying to show you, because you can see that with your mind, the black part of the trampoline bending in, and that's the way the mass of the Earth, the mass of any object, affects the space around us. I mean, I can link you to multiple videos of them doing showing the effect of gravity and everything else and how we understand bends and folds space.
I get what you're saying. I've seen that before. I've seen when they put the bowling ball in the middle of the trampoline and the objects roll inwards. But that doesn't explain how gravity works, because what we're told is that the Earth is so large and massive that it's pulling us to the center of the Earth. So it's keeping us stuck to the Earth.
Right, because it's bending the space around you.
But that's a magical property that is bending the time space. So that's a magical property.
No, not time space.
You can't measure that.
Well, we can measure it. That's how we know the rate of gravity, because we understand that as it bends space, that it will cause objects that also occupy space near it to be affected.
Hey, Gary, I'm happy that we're talking about this gravity thing, because what I'm doing is I'm preparing for a stream, and I think I'm going to do it a little bit later on. I'll probably at 6. Not sure how late that is for you guys. Would you be around 5, 6 o'clock my time, Gary?
What's your time? Are you East Coast?
I'm West Coast. It's 2:30 right now. So
okay, so I'm Central Time, so that'll be what? I think that would be. I'm trying to think, because my sister lives in Arizona. That'll be almost 10 o'clock for me. I'm not sure.
I'll try to do it a little earlier, and I'll send you an invite. But the stream will be out there. I was listening to a podcast, and I think Peanuts, you were asking me about it. Find the name of the podcast now. But they were talking about all the studies and stuff that Einstein had been doing, and how incomplete all their studies were. The podcast is called Conspiracy Unlimited with Richard Siren. I don't have the link, but it's on. I got it off one of the podcast apps on my phone. But it's episode 41, Secrets of Gravity, Unrevealing the Paradox. But they were doing a lot of talking about how a lot of the science, the theory behind gravity was incomplete, and how the holes in it were based on not being able to be able to figure out how things worked. What I'm gonna do is I've downloaded the episode, but I gotta chop it up because they talk about so much other random stuff.
Right. Currently, the theory of gravity would be our best explanations of what we know about gravity. It's true that we cannot recreate gravity, and we don't know exactly how gravity affects everything. Like people don't know massive gravitational fields actually affects time. Time seems like it slows down near a large gravity well.
That's their hypothesis on it.
No, we know this because when you fly a plane, the further you get away, you do a little bit of time travel if you go up high enough and get away from the Earth's gravity.
See, the problem with that is
What did he just say?
Yeah, see, the problem is the problem what you said is in your version, the gravity weight thing may affect, which I consider is more atmospheric pressure. But what you're saying, you time travel. First of all, even the way they explain it, you being in an airplane at 40,000 feet isn't far enough away for that to even happen.
No, it's usually the higher the plane's higher, the further you get away from a gravity well, because time actually slows down the closer you are to a gravity well. So if you get further away from a massive gravity well, then yes, you will be going a little bit faster per second.
Oh my God! I cannot believe you said that.
So
I mean, it's documented.
Wow. And Gary, where do you get your information from, Gary?
Now here's the problem. Here's the problem with what you're saying, because they just came out with a study about the two twin astronauts and how their genetic composition changed, and they were no longer identical twins. There's one aspect that they did not say that would hold weight with what you're saying. They didn't say that either of the twins were older or younger than the other. Only that their DNA structure had changed. Now, you would think that if they had sufficiently exhibited time travel, that would be the big story, not the twins' DNA.
Well, hold on. Let me ask you something. How would you test DNA to see if it's older or younger?
Because their genetic structure, the system would be older or younger. The same way they can look at you'll see
a change in their DNA. But how do you determine that one is older or younger?
Because their organs would show signs of being older or younger. The same way, way when they do an autopsy, they can get the age of somebody.
Right, but I'm telling you that the difference between closer to Earth and further away from Earth is like a very small few seconds.
Okay, so
it's not even a full second, I don't think that affects, because it's a small difference.
So what amount of time would make a difference? A year?
I don't know if they put anybody in space for that long.
Yeah, actually, the twins, one of the twins was in space for 340 days.
Oh, for a year. Okay. Yes, I don't know what the time difference was. Somebody would have to add it up.
Yeah, but that would be a significant amount of time. Making
another
one of the twins older. That means the 10 in space would be older or younger than the twin that stayed on Earth.
Technically, yes.
But that's not what the study said at all. That's time travel.
What was the study supposed to be saying? Because my understanding, your DNA doesn't, evolution doesn't work like that, where your DNA will change while you're living.
7% of the twin's DNA structure had changed from his identical twin after 340 days in space. That was the story.
What do you mean changed?
Changed. Literally changed. They are no longer identical twins.
Because what part of the identical twins have different identical twins? There are plenty of identical twins that don't actually share the same DNA. It doesn't mean your DNA is exactly the same.
They stated in the story that they shared their identical twins. This is what the NASA story is.
Identical twins, identical twins just mean you look exactly, well, you look alike.
Okay.
Basically, it doesn't mean that you share the exact same DNA.
Well, this is the story. This is the story from NASA. That they did a study with the identical twins. After 340 days in space, and he came down and they did all their tests, 7% of the twins' DNA that was in space changed from his identical twin brother, making them no longer identical twins.
Identical twins does not mean that you have the same DNA.
I'm telling you right now what they say, what NASA's telling us, that 7% of their genes that obviously were the same had changed.
No.
Okay, you need to find the story yourself, because I'm telling you right now what NASA's story was about how these identical twins.
Identical twins will have similar DNA, but that does not mean that our DNA will be the same. 2, evolution doesn't say your DNA changes while you're alive. Your DNA changes as you pass on your genes to your offspring.
Okay, so what you're telling me right now is that NASA put out a fake story.
I don't know what story you're talking about. You're putting out the information. It just doesn't sound correct.
Okay, well, that's
based on what I know.
Let me, you know what I'll do? Let me go ahead and find it. You guys talk amongst yourselves, and I'll find it.
He's putting out the information that he got from NASA, which doesn't coincide with your truth. So that makes the story from NASA.
No, I'm just trying to ask him based on the information, because based on the information I know, twins is identical twin doesn't mean that you have the exact same DNA. It simply means that y'all look alike.
Agree. I agree with it, but NASA
it doesn't speak on what your genetic. It doesn't speak on what your DNA is. It's true that identical twins will have similar DNA, but that does not mean that they will have the same DNA.
Right. Well, that's true.
Gary?
That's true. But NASA said that they had similar. Let's say for this instance, that we know that it's not the exact same. Like you're saying, maybe a small, minute change to make them identical twins. But NASA's saying that their DNA changed while in space.
Hey, it's okay. We no longer have to explain it to him. I'll share the video. Can you guys see the video? Or I forgot, I gotta do it with my OBS. Hang on one second. There we go. Let me share it with you guys so you guys can see my OBS. That one. All right, there we go. You guys can see it, right?
They were born with the same DNA, but after one of them spent a year in space, things have changed. NASA's twin study is giving researchers insight into how space travel affects the body. Astronaut Scott Kelly spent 340 days aboard the International Space Station, which is twice as long as astronauts usually spend up there.
Some of the most exciting things that we've seen from looking at gene expression in space is that we really see an explosion, like fireworks taking off as soon as the human body gets into space. So we've seen thousands and thousands of genes change how they are turned on and turned off.
Scott's DNA was compared to that of his identical twin brother Mark, who stayed on Earth. While most of his biological markers returned to the way they were before his journey, some of the differences still persist. The twins' DNA is now 7% different, and with plans to send astronauts to Mars for longer periods of time, this information will be important to keep them healthy.
This really sets.
So, Gary, like I said, and I didn't bullshit the information, it was pretty much exactly what I said. You understand what we're saying? You're telling us that's impossible. We're telling you, NASA telling us it is possible.
Hold on, you played the video. I couldn't hear anything.
Oh, okay. My apologies. I'll play it again. No, I didn't know. My bad.
I don't want to say anything, but I was like,
I just
Gary,
did you hear anything?
Man, watch the watch page, Gary.
Can you watch the watch page?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That YouTube page, because you're not going to be able to hear it in the Hangout.
Okay. I was like, I didn't hear nothing.
Oh, my apologies. I didn't know. My bad.
I don't think it'll, because I'm on my phone. I don't think it'll let me do it. Maybe I go in my room.
Well, this is what we're gonna do. I'm actually gonna in the stream. But what I'll do is I'll go ahead, Gary, go back to the watch page, and I'll play it again, and then later on we'll talk about it.
Okay.
That way you can see it and everything, because I do want you to see it, because I honestly, well, man, you know me, I'm not gonna give a complete bullshit story like that. But I do want you to hear what they're saying about it. So that's what we'll do. I'll go ahead and end the stream with the video, so that way, Gary, you get enough chance to get in there and check it out. Everybody else, I do appreciate you guys stopping by. I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna be on in I'll be on in 3.5 hours. 3.5 hours, I'm gonna come back on. Mainly what I wanted to do is get that podcast cut up a little bit, so that way we can play some of the stuff that I was talking about with their theories of gravity.
Say the name of it one more time.
It's called Conspiracy Unlimited with Robert Shyrett, Syrett. And the episode I'm talking about is episode 41, The Secrets of Gravity. It's a really good podcast. And we're gonna go over that when I come back on. But like I said, what I want to do is I want to play that video out. That way Gary can see it, and then we'll talk about that when I come back on. Peanuts, hey man, thanks for stopping by. It's definitely been a long time. You are more than welcome to jump on the panel anytime you want, my friend.
Sean G, thank you for your platform, and man, let's keep exposing this.
Yes, exactly. I want truth. That's all there is. Whether it's what I believe.
That's all I'm looking for too. I just want to know the truth.
Exactly, and we'll go into the fuel thing a little bit more. I definitely, like I said, want to talk about this theory of gravity and what the scientists are even saying about the studies they did back in the day. So with that, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and end this out. I'll go ahead and play that video that we just had up, and talk about it a little bit later on.
They were born with the same DNA, but after one of them spent a year in space, things have changed. NASA's twin study is giving researchers insight into how space travel affects the body. Astronaut Scott Kelly spent 340 days aboard the International Space Station, which is twice as long as astronauts usually spend up there.
Some of the most exciting things that we've seen from looking at gene expression in space is that we really see an explosion, like fireworks taking off as soon as the human body gets into space. So we've seen thousands and thousands of genes change how they are turned on and turned off.
Scott's DNA was compared to that of his identical twin brother Mark, who stayed on Earth. While most of his biological markers returned to the way they were before his journey, some of the differences still persist. The twins' DNA is now 7% different, and with plans to send astronauts to Mars for longer periods of time, this information will be important to keep them healthy.
This really sets the bedrock for our understanding of the molecular risks for space travel, as well as ways to potentially protect and even fix them.
For InsideEdition.com, I'm Mara Montalbano.
I honestly think you ought to sit down calmly, take a stress pill, and think things over.
Study.
When you get to hell, tell them Duke sent you.